Welcome to Draw Process. I'm Ike. This is where I draw pages of my comic and process about my development, my techniques, my process. And this is page 64 of episode 2 of my comic, First Sun and Sword. I put one of these videos out every week on Sundays. You might hear mowers in the background. They literally just started up out there as soon as I started recording, and this is when I want to do this video. So here we are going with it. The rough pencils. I'm trying to work out how the lizard man here is shoving Sword away from him. Again, pretty complex physical positions here. Farah, the first kind of head and shoulders you're seeing in that scribble, is Farah on the back of Kuruk, the lizard man, with her daggers into his traps, into his shoulders or neck, you could say. And Sword has already, put his sword through the body of the lizard man, but the lizard man is shoving Sword away very forcefully. And so I'm trying to capture this very forceful shove that's sending him, 10 feet away at least, and show the result of some other things, like Farah's attack on him. So the next panel there. We see the result, Sword hitting the surface of the water off the edge of the dock, and we can also see Sun there in the middle between everything. And so we see everyone in this. This is definitely an establishing shot. And I chose that angle, obviously. This is on the Z-axis. This is... in perspective. I didn't show them horizontally next to each other. There's the z-axis depth there, but I still chose to put the angle as a moving to the right. It creates on the x-axis, let's say, like horizontally, it creates distance between each person that I'm kind of layering in on the shot. It helps you judge depth if you also have horizontal visual cues and not only relying on size, and depth, let's say. And it creates a nice line, a nice sort of dynamic kind of shape to the panel, this kind of down into the right angled line. Next, the lizard man throws Farah into the water, so how would he have grabbed her when she had both daggers in? How could he have possibly grabbed her with one hand, maybe both hands, and then gotten all the way to this position? I didn't show all the steps. We don't need to. But I have to be able to capture this moment in time, and it makes sense that this is a few moments ahead of what we saw in the first panel. So that's the real, to me, that's the real work of making comics, is actually drawing things that actually happened. Like, making sure they actually happened in my mind and that I can convey that. So here she is hitting the water. It's nice that they don't have to get too injured. That's obviously for storytelling purposes. I want them to just be cast aside, but not seriously injured by this incredibly powerful foe, who's also tired. Like this, it's believable. It's not forced that he would do this, because he's very tired. He's very winded. He's injured, and he's just trying to get to the boy. And that's what we see next, of course. Now with the two protectors out of the way, it's just Lizard Man and the boy. I positioned them very far to the left of the panel. Putting the weight at the far left will help the eye go from this left panel that's very tall back up to the top panel on the right, which is very heavy on the left, right? And that by putting them on the left and having the dot grow to the right, that creates a line that guides towards Sun on the next panel, his close-up, where he's a little bit more to the right. So it's kind of like beats in music. You want things to kind of bounce off of each other. It's not always the same on the beat, perfectly symmetrical. You're going to add some swing and so on. And now I get to come in here with the heavier pencils and finalize the drawings enough that I can ink them. This is just a simple triangle. And I just go by sight, eyeball the width of these gutters. Always trying to capture nice expressions and not just draw like a puppet. Just like there's a way to be more expressive. You kind of go with the expression first, whether that's the dynamic expressive gesture line of the figure, or if it's the expression on the face or whatever it is. But you kind of go with that first, and then make sure you add and build structure in. That seems to be how others do it, that go with a more expressive style, dynamic or energetic style. Because I think we assume that structure underlies everything. So that would mean you have to put the structure first. But that's not how it actually works. Philosophically speaking, it could be an emergent quality, the structure. So the structure can be added in, emerge, be found and layered in different pieces that make structure in the end. Yeah, and it's nice when I can do that. So, like I've said, being able to feel what these figures are doing, what these people are doing, and trying to capture what I see requires a certain kind of mental focus and mental ability, and some regularity of practicing doing it for me to be able to do that comfortably. This week, I actually drew page 68 of this comic. This voiceover is being done the week that it airs, but the pages are sometimes drawn ahead of time, which is great when I get ahead. So I was drawing page 68 this week, and haven't inked it yet. I just penciled it, and it was challenging. I couldn't feel the figures very well. I couldn't imagine the world. I was just trying to draw a face instead of draw Sun, having an expression. And I don't draw well when I do that. There are people who are good at that. They lay down the structure of the head really well, the Loomis method or whatever. They lay things down well and they build on top of it, and it's mechanical in a sense, and they've just memorized and mastered that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But when I try to do that, I'm never happy with the result. It becomes, is this right or not? I could go down that path. Someone could go down that path and just get it right until it's right, and do their art that way. That's not the path I'm on. So, it was a struggle to draw this page yesterday, and my head wasn't in it. I mean, I'm having a stressful week, and I'm tired, and wasn't in the mood for it, but I knew I needed to be productive. I need to go forwards anyways. And that brings me to, an idea for the topic today. Because 2 weeks ago, I talked about drawing my pages as a a sort of sacrifice as a giving of a gift of the excess of my life energy, my life, my work, my joy. And that in that sense, it wouldn't be work. It would be something I could do when my cup is full. When I'm feeling full and I give back. There's a joy in that, even if you don't have much to give. Even if you're not, you don't have to be perfect and feel great all the time, but it can. You can enjoy it enough that it generates some energy in itself, having that approach. But that was not working for me this week, yesterday. And it made me think of how there's maybe two sides to this, two modes, parallel things. And I think we could say joy and suffering. When I'm suffering or struggling with a page, but maybe distracted and struggling in life, and I choose to stick with and to produce creative work, I'm not in a place where I'm able to do it sometimes from that joyful place that I want to be my signature. I want it to be the main thing I do, right? But it's more like I not liking where you are and wanting to get somewhere better. Not just like it's a grind. Again, not a grind, but a creative act that is an act of hope, of casting a wish into the future that you won't be here tomorrow, that this creative work won't be here tomorrow. And so trying to, that still is a creative act, to cast that dream out there. And try to move from where you're at. And then on the other side is the joy side, which is wanting to give from your excess what you have right now. There has to be room for both, because no one's perfect. I'm not going to always be in that mode, in that capability and capacity. So sometimes I'm in a different mode. Now, again, it's different than being just grinding out work. It's a little different than, say, escaping into your work. But it's similar. It's just it's not quite the meaning that I'm describing here. It is kind of like when you're going through a hard time and you find purpose in your work, and you get into a flow in your work and you forget your troubles. It's a bit like that. But again, it's also a creative act of hope, kind of casting your net, casting your gift out, like for wishing for something better. It's almost, a prayer, that might be another metaphor for it. That's part of life too. So I have to create from that place too. And that means, I'm the work is more of a struggle, right? Like I'm not feeling the flow as well, and so on. But I still do it from that, like I said, it's yin and yang. They're very related. It's kind of from a similar place, from that giving as a sort of this act of hope, rather than giving from your fulfillment. That way, maybe this, you don't relate to this at all. This is how my brain works. I don't know if it's all the philosophy or all the religious upbringing or what, but I like to process my experience on levels like this. It's not just a matter of mood and stuff like that. I don't know. It's not. I use big ideas to organize myself and make sense of what I'm up to, what I'm doing, so that I can be purposeful and clear. Growth can come. You kind of need clarity. It's kind of like needing to control the variables to measure the result. You kind of need clarity to see what if you're living up to what you say you're doing, where you're moving, what the results are. That's the process of growth. So a little challenge on that page yesterday. Let's see, tomorrow or today maybe when I ink it, I'm gonna see if I get more in flow, feel better at that day. I think I might. I could have had a different response to some of my struggles penciling it. I struggled on a face, right? I could have thought, well, I need to draw faces from reference. I need to pull out my art books and review the structure of the face and facial expressions and practice them and just get really good at it. And then I will be able to draw a comic book. Which is kind of silly, honestly, when I think about it. But that I had that thought. But if I had gone with that thought, if I let that be my organizing principle, then I would be spending time drawing that right now. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now, making this. But it would be a very different result. Believing that and moving that direction would have been very different than organizing and understanding it in the way that I have, which is I was not feeling it. I wasn't feeling the bodies. I didn't have the clarity. I wasn't seeing the pictures play out and drawing from that. I was trying to draw a face. Very different interpretations. I had both. I experienced both interpretations. Both thoughts came to me. If I had gone with the other, I would head down a very different road than if I went with this one that I did. And I like this other one more. I get, hopefully we grow and we learn how to choose between our thoughts, right? So I'm choosing this one. It feels like it's more the right direction. Paying attention, processing my experience, and getting this video series as a way for me to organize that. Okay, enough on that. I've jumped in with the inking. I really had fun with this one. I liked some of the things I did quite a bit. The first panel, the way that he's coming up over the cart and those energy lines at the bottom of the panel are cool. I like how the sword gets really large in your face and it's positioned close to his face. There's just his form, his muscles. It's really nice. Sometimes I fire on all cylinders, and it's really nice like that. Same with the lizard man here, Karak. There's quite a nice amount of definition to his muscles, even though the pencils are so loose. I'm coming in with quite a bit of definition, and it's pretty dynamic too. It's nice how the sword enters right in front of the delt that connects by the pecs. So I kind of in that gap there under the collarbone. You can see that is precisely where it hit because I've drawn it clearly. And again, that's not from practicing anatomy, not exactly. This is from I'm in the right headspace. I'm in flow. I'm seeing the movie play out. I'm feeling that character's body. As I'm drawing it, I'm feeling what's this arm feel like with that sword in it, and so it makes it a lot easier to draw. And it's a movie playing. So for me, so that's the thing. And sometimes to very nice results, and most of the time to nice results. Lately, it's been pretty consistent. The style, page to page, for several pages now, has been pretty decently consistent. I wish I could say more. Wish I could say it was more than several pages, but that's important, obviously. But that's not a different way for me to understand. That's not a different guiding principle or way to orient myself. It fits with what I was just saying. Is the lesson? I could interpret it two ways. The lesson could be, well, I need to be perfectly consistent. That means I go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time, blah blah blah. As if that controls all variables. It's impossible, and it's quite an assumption that that's what I need. But I could also interpret it as, the processing my experience. Why am I? What's going on when I get off? What's going on in me when I get off in my art? And can I understand that? And welcome it, deal with it, accept it, not try to cut it out of me. That's the direction. That sounds nicer to me. It sounds like a better way to go. But yeah, very, very cool. I do know that if I go over a week without drawing, I think that can have an effect. That it seems to. I mean, that might be one of the things that just directly affects the result. But I think I'm covered there, because I generally don't go more than a week. I've got this video series to keep up with. That close-up of the sword having gone through, just very, very visceral. There's an arrow sticking out of his chest and next to it that you see there, just the shaft of it in the panel on the left, but then you see it all on the right. It's nice to have this monster creature moment when it roars in your face and the spit flies out in your face, and Sword's face here is so perfect. As I'm feeling that character and what they're feeling, and I'm conveying it through my acting. My drawings like acting. Just getting the way he scrunched up and kind of closed his eyes. He's trying to protect his face from that spit. Yeah. So here in this panel, we have a foreground and midground, two planes here. Sword's face on the bottom right, and then Lizard Man on the left. The colors will separate them a lot because there's way different colors between them. But I also consider line weight, the amount of black, the amount of lines or solid black areas that are added. In this case, I alternated the shading. Lizard Man here, Karak, the light is more behind him, but on the right a bit, putting a lot of hatching lines of shadow on him. But the way I chose to convey shadow on Sword in the moment of inking, I decided, I believe, I don't think there was any information of that in the pencils, that it was Karak's shadow on Sword's face. So that allows me to put the shadow on his, upper left surface, opposite what you see with Karak. And that helps separate them. And of course, his beard having a lot of black lines in it helps add weight to that bottom right corner too. And again, my goal is for this to be so clear in black and white that color is just an additive, partly because I like nice line art. I want it to be complete in itself. I like doing it traditionally, but also I can see a future where I'm not going to color anymore and just let the black art speak for itself. Always with Sun here, with his anxious, tense emotions, or held in emotions, freezing response, holding in his anger. He's like, there's times when he's pretty rambunctious and, energetic and impulsive because he's a kid and that's his personality. But he has this other side where he closes off, shuts down, holds things in. Trying to play with that, with what his character is, what he's been through, how that's affected him, what kind of ways his trauma shows up, his wounds show up. So this is not simply Sun is terrified of the big lizard, right? I'm not simply trying to convey, look how scary the lizard man is because Sun is scared. I'm trying to convey more about what's going on inside of this boy. It's just like where I'm trying to convey what's going on with the bodies of these people when I draw them, when I communicate through their acting, through their expression. I'm also trying to make meaning conveyed by feeling it myself. What could this boy be feeling? Can I feel what he feels? Can I empathize with this made up character and convey that? If I approach it that way, the art becomes more expressive too. But there's more layers, there's more depth, it's more human. And that comes from me. I'm the only human here that's making this book, that's making this story and so on. So it has to come out of me, not like a reference, not a Google search for face expressions. Maybe because you could find the one that resonates with you, but it's not robotic is what I'm saying. I penciled in the sun. I thought it'd be nice to have the sun just behind her. And then I forgot that my plan was to only include the sun in the colors, to not do any lines around it, which would help it truly look bright and really push it back into the background. So I decided not to ink it at all, and I could just do a perfect circle digitally. And then when I went to color, I forgot to put the sun there, and I'm actually cool with it. It makes the art a little simpler. It fits better with the flat style of coloring. So went with that. But obviously, the shadow is behind them. There's a lot of hatching on the surface with a little bit of lighting coming around on her left, maybe on the right, secondary. And trying to think through the same thing on Karak. Okay, where will I put the shadows? Now, I put quite a bit on him because I'm trying to add a lot of weight to him, make him kind of come forward, bring him forward, and add more weight to that bottom part of the panel compositionally. And that wraps up comments on that, I think. And now I'm just doing the finishing touches, erasing pencils, coming in with white out paint, maybe a few more ink lines if needed. And then I scan it in clean it up a little bit digitally, change some of the settings on it to bring it richer, darker, colors, darker black to the scan. And then I bring that into Clip Studio and do my flat coloring on a few layers. I use a light layer for light highlights and a shadow layer or two if I want to. And lately I've been making a few layers of the flats just to separate things, but I don't have to do it that way. I'm big on using the paint bucket tool. I try not to just trace things if I can avoid it. So for example, I will take like a polygon kind of tool that'll fill in the shape, and I will completely go on way outside the boundaries. I'm not coloring in Sword in this first panel, for example. I'm going way outside the boundaries and just him plus some of the background is his skin tone, let's say. But then I can go on top of that, or in a layer on top of it, and put in the sky. Or vice versa. In this case, I actually remember I'm putting in the sky, the water, some of those things I put in first on a layer above the color for the figures. And then when I color in the figures, I can just go way outside the lines and it's hidden by the sky and everything. Same with the lighting and shadows that I add. The lighting and shadow layers will not bleed onto the sky because I put the sky layer above and the background colors layers above the lighting too. So little tricks like that speed it up, obviously make it easier. And that's the finished page. I like how his sword is at a similar angle panel by panel. The first panel, you have this nice diagonal. Second, third, and a bit in the fourth. But definitely the first three. It's like a visual motif, just the angle of that itself. That repeats. Boom, boom, boom. That's it for this week. See you next time.